Hey, this is Gecko Mayhem. This is another Godforge video. Before I launch into the video, there is one thing that I would like to raise, and this is a recent change that Fateless did to the game. Shields and barriers are not considered buffs, which means buff stripping, buff extension, buff removal, buff reduction will not affect shield or barrier. They are considered an instant effect. You will have to have a specific skill that strips shields or reduces barrier. I think this is a very good change. It's an interesting change, for one, but I think it is a very welcome change because shields are being treated differently. Now, barriers are already being treated as a separate thing. It's that blue bar that your character gets when they have a little bit of damage mitigation, and when the blue bar disappears, they start taking damage again. The same with a shield. A shield as a bonus on your character, as a stat, similar to HP, speed, etc., that shield can be knocked down through damage, and I assume that in future they are going to add some skills that strip shields or remove shields or reduce shields or weaken shields in some way. Let's get on to today's video, however. I am going to be watching the latest video that Fateless put out. It is about Svarog's Horde, UI, and toolkit changes. We recently, and when I say we, I and a couple of other content creators did collaborations to look at the updated hero kits which were released on the website. So go check out the videos that I have been putting out in collaboration with these fantastic content creators. Go check out their channels as well. Let's get on to today's video. As usual, I will watch through the video. I may interject here and there, and at the end I will give my feedback.
Hey, what's up? This is Brad with Fateless, and we're going to be doing a video here kind of showcasing some of the stuff that's been going on. We've got a new update on the website that's huge, and you can see a lot of the hero kits. We've got some tweaks and changes to the UI and how things are going to be kind of showing up on screen while you're playing. We've been doing a lot of fun things inside of Fateless, like creating pantheons and splitting off to have little competitions, like starting a new account and seeing how far we can progress in a week, or how many stages of a certain boss we can get through within a week. And now we're able to really dive in and play test and see like how things feel, what are the pain points, what's going as intended, what is not working as intended, and doing a lot of fun stuff like that. And right now, some of the leadership at Fateless is heading out to GDC in California, so that's why I'm stepping in for Simon to get a video out here on the channel this week, as he is probably on a plane right now as of me recording this, heading to GDC in California. But I definitely want to take a moment to make sure all of you know about the update that has happened recently this week on Godforge.gg. Huge shout out to the web team and all the people working on that. I know it was a big add to the website and things were kind of going wrong for a little bit. So sorry if the site was down and you couldn't access things like the minigame. Hopefully all of that is behind us and sorted out now. But what you can do is go to the website, Godforge.gg. You click on this section, Heroes, and this is going to be a new section added here within the last week or so. You've got all of your different options on the left, Aru, all that good stuff to tab through, and then you can pull up actual kits of heroes. Click on somebody like Anubis. It's going to show you what they look like. It's going to show you all the basic information, the Brawler, Cunning Affinity, the Allegiance of Order, the Imprint, and then you can also scroll down and see really cool things like the stats and the kit and the awakenings and the ascending. So you can kind of like drag this bar right here and see what they're going to be like as you level them up. You can see right here he's going to go from 2100 HP all the way up to 23,455 when maxed out. So really an opportunity for you to scroll through and just kind of look over different kits and get a feel for what some of these heroes are going to look like when we head into early access. But obviously the normal caveats, as always, that this is all subject to change as we dive in and play test and do some balancing, and a lot of things still need a big balance pass like multipliers and stuff like that. But it's at least somewhere for you to go and get a really quick first look at what some of these heroes could be looking like when we head into early access. But as we dive into some of the gameplay here, I want to show you one tweak that we've done recently to the UI. I can pull up what it used to look like. If you look top left of your screen, Over on the right side is going to be the old one, where we used to have like that divinity orb, and it would start at the bottom and then the orb would kind of fill up to the top. But then you can see what it looks like currently in game, and we've got kind of like that circle around the avatar of the hero, and as the divinity fills up, it's going to kind of draw a line around them and fill up around their picture. And then when they have their ultimate, it's going to light up with flames, and it's going to kind of oscillate between a picture of the hero and their ultimate ability. Because what we have found is that a lot of new players are not kind of knowing the ultimate system and that it's ready to go and that they're ready to use their ultimate. So we need to really think outside the box and think of ways where we can make that kind of a little bit more eye-catching and a little bit more obvious that they have an ultimate charged and they have an ability ready to be used. Okay, but let's go ahead and restart this here, and I'll kind of show you the flow of a battle and what it's going to look like as we kind of charge an ultimate and build up here. And then show you the differences, how it kind of like rotates through the portrait and everything. We should be getting it any second now, getting our ultimate. Probably the start of the next wave. And here we go. And then with our initiative, top up our Guan Yu. Yep, there we go. So we've got Guan Yu and Lady Jacques with ultimate. So you can see how now that kind of circle that fills up around their avatar is lighting up with that divinity blue flame. And you can see how it changes, and it flips from a picture of the hero to an icon of the ultimate ability. We're trying to kind of make it more obvious that you have an ultimate ability ready for that hero. And there's a couple different ways we can go about this, and we'll probably iterate and test. As always, definitely let us know in Discord or in comment sections of videos like this one. Let us know your thoughts, what looks good to you, what you like or don't like, because we're kind of trying to mess with things and change things around and test things and get to a place where everything looks as good as we can possibly get it. But what we're hoping this represents is now you see like, oh, Guan Yu has an ability icon right here that's flaming, and now this is flipping. So now I know something's ready to go here. I can click on that. Now the flame turns to a purple, so I know that it's selected. Then we click and boom, we do our ultimate. So we're hoping that streamlines it a little bit better and kind of explains it that an ultimate is ready to go, because we know a lot of players have been kind of missing that in the past. But the challenge that we've been doing internally as a team this week has revolved around Zmey, the boss in Svarog's Horde, and we were trying to kind of see what level we could get to within like the 10 days or so that we've all been playing on these accounts that we started from scratch, and just kind of trying to work up through the dungeon and have a fun internal competition to see kind of what feels good and what it feels like to fight the boss and learn the balance of things and be able to make adjustments and all that good stuff. And if you haven't gotten a look at Zmey yet, I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick rundown here of the different abilities. So it's going to be a gear dungeon boss and revolving around a status effect here that's called Gluttony, which under the effects, we can pull that up and you can see Gluttony for every stack, minus 5% damage received and plus 5% initiative. So going to be taking less damage and also generating ultimate faster. The more stacks of Gluttony the boss is able to acquire on itself. And these do not expire and cannot be removed by any normal buff removal abilities. And the ultimate that Zmey will be cycling through faster because of these Gluttony stacks is going to be right here, Union of Greed. Double the stacks of Gluttony. So we've got some cross synergy there where the more Gluttony, the more ultimates are going to happen. And then the more ultimates, the more Gluttony that's going to happen. And it's going to keep kind of snowballing here if you don't manage it effectively. So you're going to double those stacks of Gluttony, then attack all enemies 3 times. Destroy 5% of each target's max HP, and a further 5% for every 10 stacks of Gluttony. So you're really going to kind of, if you're not able to manage the fight, you're going to get a lot of snowballing because of all the stacks and doing more and more ultimates and more HP destruction. So you're going to, if you do want a longer fight in Zmey, it's going to be important to bring a hero, invoker, support type hero that could help you recover some of that destroyed max HP and be able to keep your heroes topped up. But ideally, you're going to want to kind of structure your team around managing these Gluttony stacks and not letting them stack up out of control. Because if we head on over to the passive right here, Gluttonous, when Zmey gains a buff, gain 2 stacks of Gluttony, which cannot be removed by abilities, and increase Zmey divinity by 2.5%. So that's going to happen for each buff that Zmey gains. And notice it doesn't say when Zmey like places a buff. It can also happen on things like stealing a buff, because we see in the basic ability right here, attack all enemies and steal 1 buff from each target. But then you also have the core right here, Relentless Hunger, place 2 random buffs on Zmey, and it lists kind of all the different random buffs that could occur for 1 turn and then gain an extra turn. So it'll be placing some self-buffing, then granting an extra turn, then popping off and stealing buffs with the basics. So you're going to want to really be careful about what buffs you're bringing when you're placing them, because you're going to let Zmey kind of snowball, steal those buffs, become stronger, and then also gain more gluttony stacks, and then also be able to get more ultimates, which double the gluttony stacks. So kind of a fight you're going to have to think about once you start getting up into like stages 5, 6, 7, 8. You're going to have to start kind of working on an initial strategy with a team to progress in Svarog's Horde. But now I'll go ahead and press auto, and I'll let you kind of see my team that I got set up here. Now, we weren't able to build like perfect endgame meta strategies in our internal competition, because we're trying out like the new player experience. We're starting from scratch, and then we're diving in and doing some battles and trying to see how far we can get. I'm sure at some point we'll do more like long-term testing where we play an account for a little bit longer, or we start with some initial resources and stuff like that. That way we can get a little bit more testing done in progressing towards like the mid game and the end game.
Right.
But right now it's a little bit more of an early game feel. So right now Zmey is going to take a turn, because we've got the turn meter filling up, and then boom, right there, destroying the health. And then you can see the buffs placing right there. And we also got a bunch of the gluttony stacks piling up. Now, one thing I'm kind of noticing when I'm playing Godforge is it can be a little bit difficult on some of the status effects to see the numbers on them. Like right now on the gluttony stacks there above Zmey next to the turn meter bar, it's really hard for me to kind of see exactly how many stacks that is. Like I see a 0, but some of them are kind of difficult, and like some of the buffs on the left side of the UI are a little bit difficult to read if they're like 1 turn or 2 turn or whatever. So we are working on ways, and that is kind of noted, but we want to add like a little bit of a backdrop to it, or a little bit of an outline that'll make those numbers easier to read on some of these different status effects going on. And also I restarted it so I can kind of pause and do a little bit better job of showing when the turn kind of happens, because you can see what's going to happen is Zmey has ultimate, and I can go in here and click on this ability and see what's going to happen. So what's going to happen when Zmey takes a turn is we're going to see the ultimate occur, which attacks all enemies 3 times, and you're going to see my HP get destroyed on each target. I'm gonna try to do a little bit better job of walking you through what's happening here. So let's go ahead, put this on 1x, get my turns in, and when is it gonna be happening? Should be any moment now with that turn meter filling up, and here it is. Yep. So there's the 1 hit, the 2nd hit, and you can see the destroy health popping up. And then,
where's the
and then there comes the attack where you saw the steal buff. So now what happens is Zmey did the ultimate, then did the basic. So now it has all of these status effects and 8 stacks of gluttony. And you can see what I was kind of talking about is in here. It's obviously very easy to read, but if I just kind of like zoom out and back out, that 8 up there on that status effect bar next to the gluttony icon is a little bit tough to read. I can't tell if it's like 18 or 8 when it's so small on the screen, and that could end up being a problem on mobile when you get to smaller devices and stuff like that. So definitely something on our radar in terms of trying to streamline that a little bit better and make it a little bit more readable. But at least you got to see kind of like what was going on there with the ability, and now we can fire it up and see if we win here. Go on 3x. We do have some buffs there on Zmey, so going to be tough. Something I would want to like optimize here on my team is bringing a little bit more like shielding and boosting and sustain, and be able to kind of manage getting through here. And you have a little bit of a DPS race almost, because you don't want to like let those stacks get too out of control. You want to be able to take down Zmey in a reasonable fashion instead of trying to do like a 10-minute fight, unless you're going to perfectly manage all of those effects. But it's going to be fun to test these bosses and keep iterating changes. And like I said earlier, let us know your thoughts down below on what you think is a cool mechanic, or what you think is a little bit crazy, or could be something to take a look at. We always enjoy hearing the feedback. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. It's gonna be getting tough. Gonna be getting tough. Gonna be super close. Can we do it? I don't know. My Guan Yu and my Lady Jacques are the DPSers, so... So could be a little bit rough, but it is going to come down to a sliver. Can they clutch it out and finish it? Boom. We're able to do it. So, yeah, you can see that's really kind of like where I maxed out on the new account here, was getting to stage 8. And it's just like a razor thin margin on making it happen. So definitely a lot of fun doing the internal competition. And we're actually starting a new one. By the time you see this video come out, we're going to be resetting and trying a new challenge internally as well. But yeah, that'll do it for me on this one. Remember, we'll have all the links down below if you want to go check out like godforge.gg and see some of the new changes to the website, scroll through some of the information about different heroes. And as always, make sure you're in the Discord so you can see all of the updates happening around Fateless and Godforge with early access, and be able to also pop into different chat channels and leave your input on all sorts of different stuff. We always appreciate when you take the time to do that. So yeah, thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon in the next video. Peace.
Well, it was really good to see Zmey, the boss of Svarog's Horde, to see some of the mechanics that that boss does with its gluttony buff, and how difficult that's going to be to counter and to deal with as you get to the higher stages or the higher levels of Svarog's Horde. We've already looked at and seen over time the UI changes, the fact that we now have this ultimate meter ring around the character's portrait, and how the characters, the heroes, are down the left hand side. We've seen these UI updates, but having it explained by Brad was actually really useful, because now I, at least, have a greater understanding of why they made these specific changes. And it is a UX change, right? It's a user experience change. It's to make things a lot more obvious. Now, he mentioned twice, so this is a very important thing for them, the fact that you can't see the buff count. And that was something that I noticed and I noted down, but then I went, I don't need to mention that really, because they're already onto it and they're going to amend that. They're going to address that. They're going to hopefully make it very visible what the buff count is. I didn't quite catch during that Zmey fight, when Gluttony dropped from 8 stacks back down to 0 stacks, what actually did that? Does the boss consume the stacks? Or I didn't quite catch what that was, but I will look a lot more closely into what happens with the Zmey fight, and obviously all of the bosses through all of those parts of the game, those dungeons that they're releasing with early access. One thing I wanted to note also is that even when running at 3 times speed, which is great by the way, the animations look so good, don't they? I think they do. I think they're looking really good. The animations are looking great even at 3 times speed. The effects are looking good. Just the characters that we get to see when the Fateless crew play the game and show us a little bit of their competition that they've got going internally. Just seeing the characters that they're bringing in to a dungeon or a stage or whatever, right? Into a fight, these characters that they're showing and showcasing, and we're getting to see some really cool stuff here. The way I see it with Zmey, you will want to try to limit the ultimates, and I think, or at least it looks like, the best way with that is to use initiative down. And initiative down doubles as a preventative measure. So if initiative down, the debuff, is on Zmey, then it will only steal 1 buff when it does that attack where it steals your buffs, and then does its ultimate and doubles its gluttony buff. So you definitely want to bring a hero that will place at least initiative down 1, if not initiative down 2. Disables, as we saw, are going to be basically useless against it, so don't expect to be able to use any kind of disable against the boss, because it will just cleanse them off. And that's all I have to say. That's all I picked up from there. I look forward to learning about all of these bosses, to diving in on early access whenever that may be, and to seeing ultimately what the game has to offer us at the early stages when it's ready for release. That's everything. I hope that you enjoyed the video that I watched. I hope that you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you on the next one.